Yo, what's good? This your boy Derek Branch, SportsView360.com, covering New Orleans Saints. And today, just gonna, post some thoughts on what has just transpired today. And that's the release of the New Orleans Saints official 2025 regular season schedule. Just like I thought it was gonna be, a bunch of, leaks coming out throughout the day. And then eventually you get the entire schedule being published. Today was the official release of all 32 teams regular season schedule for 2025 campaign. But there have been leaks in regards to this schedule for the last couple of days. But today, the day I started with the announcement of they came from Nick Underhill, I believe, that the Saints will be taking on the Arizona Cardinals as the first game of the season. Then there was, leak later on that they be playing, the Buffalo Bills on this day, and then the Miami Dolphins on this day, and it just, and then just all eventually just came out. But today I'm not gonna like put out like a record prediction on based on these schedules, based on these games, things like that. I'm just gonna just go ahead and just provide a overview of these games, quick little storyline going into those matchups for the Saints. And I'm going to start off with, the first game of the season against the Arizona Cardinals. And that game is intriguing for a lot of reasons, in my opinion, because the Arizona Cardinals, their team, their offense presents a lot of issues, presents some challenges for the Saints. And I say that because the Cardinals have a mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray. You know what I'm saying? They have a really good running game in James Conner. And the wide receivers that they have, the things they've had, Marshall Lattimore in the past to shut down these big corners. You don't have that now when after trading Lattimore to the Washington Commanders. So they have Marvin Harrison Jr. on the outside. You didn't to me didn't have a really good rookie season compared to Malik Neighbors, you know. And also they have a tight end that's really good in Trey McBride who just got paid recently. So all those things considered, the Cardinals present something that the Saints have struggled with in the past. And that would be to me, a nice test for to see. And even though it's early, it'd be a nice early test to get a gauge of what we could be possibly seeing throughout the season with this Saints team. I'm just being honest. You know, um, Cardinals. There are some high expectations for that team because last year, and it's kind of been a recurring theme with the Arizona Cardinals, is that they start off really good, you know, and then down the stretch they struggle. That's just been the narrative on Arizona Cardinals. You thought they were going to win the division last year, where you had, the 49ers struggling, the Seattle Seahawks, were neck and neck with you. Then they kind of collapsed down the stretch. Then you only had to deal with the Rams, but the Cardinals couldn't take care of business on their end. So they had a collapse like they've done in the past, you know. And there'll be some high expectations for Jonathan Gannon, their head coach. They've went out and drafted some players on defense, signed some players, some really good players on defense. So that would be a test for the Saints. And that first game, I believe, is at the Dome. Um, Week 2, that's another intriguing matchup. I think your first 3 games against the NFC West. And I would say for a significant, portion of, the later years of the Sean Payton's tenure, and especially Dennis Allen's, the Saints have struggled with beating NFC West teams. And I find it interesting that the Saints, the schedule makers, um, set up the same schedule like this, where you're playing against 3 straight NFC West teams. You got the 49ers, you got the Cardinals at home, you got the 49ers at home. So you got 2 home games back to back. Then you go on the road to Seattle. Then you go to the heavyweight fight with the Buffalo Bills. You know, but man, let me get back to the beginning of the schedule, man. So after you get done with the Cardinals, right? You got to play the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I think that's a winnable game for the Saints. I do. And I say that because of the significant turnover that's on the 49ers roster. You did lose Fawanga. You lose Drake Greenlaw to the Denver Broncos. You moved on from Debo Samuels. Fawanga's gone to safety. You cleared out a lot of guys in preparation to pay Brock Purdy, who is going to be looking for a new deal. So that's an intriguing game. And also you lost the best cornerback that you had that was supposed to sign with the Saints, but he ended up going to Indianapolis. So that's just you playing. So you're not playing, to me, the juggernaut 49ers team that you saw in the past. You're not playing that team. You're playing a team that's clearly retooling. There's an argument that could be made that they're going to a slight rebuild, a small rebuild. Similar somewhat to what the Saints are going through. You know, so that could be a winnable game for you. But the 49ers still have a lot of talent on this team. You still got Brandon Ayuk you got to deal with. Still dealing with George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey. When we all know what he brings to the table. So they present an element that the Saints struggle with, similar to what Arizona Cardinals present. A tight end, a really good tight end. They have George Kittle. You know, week 3, Seattle Seahawks, and um, in the past, the Saints have struggled going in Seattle, playing in Seattle. They have won games out there. They lost some games out there. Some games have gotten real ugly. Some haven't. But you playing a familiar face in Seattle. When we go to Seattle, you playing against a guy that was the Saints offensive coordinator, Clint Kubiak. They have a new quarterback, Sam Darnold. You got they also got rid of both of their wide receivers, the starting wide receivers. They got rid of Tyler Lockett. You got rid of DK Metcalf. You traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's a team that have new faces everywhere and will have high expectations as well because they almost won the NFC West and they almost got to the playoffs, but kind of something similar happened to them down the stretch, like with the Cardinals. They collapsed. So right off the bat, you're going to be facing. I think this is a gauntlet, in my opinion, a really good gauntlet. It's a tough gauntlet, in my opinion. Not in the world. It's one these games are winnable, but it's still a tough gauntlet just because of what these teams present. They present some elements that the Saints struggle with and they have struggled with in the past. I talked about it, mobile QB, tight end, really good receiving tight ends, physicality. But two out of 2 games, man, to be honest, all three of these games are winnable, but given due to the fact to where the Saints are right now, it's hard for me to like pencil in a victory right now. You know, Buffalo Bills. The good thing about this game is that it's not in November. It's not in December. Not even in October. You know what I mean? You playing them during during their warmer months. You know what I'm saying? So that's gonna be a tough game. Plain and simple, it's gonna be a tough game. Buffalo, we all know what they're about. They're gonna be hungry. Super Bowl aspirations, high expectations. So that might be a probably automatic L. Giants, I think you get some breathing room right here. Giants, Bears, um, Patriots. You know, two of these teams got new head coaches. Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel. Maybe you can get two wins right here. Maybe you can get three straight wins right here. You know, maybe, you know, they still figuring things out by this time before they get hot towards the end of the season. The Bears. I'm talking about the Bears and the Patriots. You also facing your former head coach slash defensive coordinator Dennis Allen. So this is gonna be personal for him, you know. But I think these games are winnable, man. I think they're winnable right here. If you can go 3-0 during this stretch, that would be great. Get you a victory up here between these four. I think the Saints can win at least one or two of these games. One or two of these games. So if you win two up here, two at the top, two three at the bottom. That gives you 5 wins right there. At least 5 wins. You know. Um Tampa Bay, we know what they're about. We got the same expectation as last year. You win the NFC South, but can you go further than that? You know what I'm saying? Rams. The good thing about this, and I mentioned this in the previous video, is that it's better to play the Rams. You know, but it's better to play the Rams in the beginning of the season towards the middle of the season instead of towards the end of the season. That way, I mean, because we're being honest, the Rams have pretty much ended any playoff aspiration the Saints have the last 2 seasons based on when they played them. Like the Bills, the Rams will have high expectations, such as getting to the Super Bowl. And they're also favorites to win the NFC West this season. Carolina, we know what they're about. They expect to take the next step with Bryce Young. And you'll be facing Tetaiere McMillan, their first overall pick in the this season's draft. Falcons, we all know that's because it's the bye week right there. Now you got you play 9 games, right? You play 10 games before the bye week. So if you can be, let's see, 5 wins. I think I said 5 wins up here, right? You can have a you can be, I think it would be safe for them to be at least 2 games under 500 right by the bye week, man. You know, but it could be a tough stretch, man. I think it's not. I don't think it's unbearable. I think these games are winnable, but like I said, given the Saints' situation right now, man, it's gonna be tough. We're really gonna find out what this team is about by the week 11. And it's good that the bye week is where it's at compared to previous years where they took the bye late in the season. You know, then you come back, you play the Falcons again. Well, you play the Atlanta Falcons off the bye week. You know, week 13, you playing a team that's they could be cleaning house by this time, the Miami Dolphins, because maybe Tyreek Hill has been traded by this time. You know, there's a team that could be cleaning house if they don't get things turned around. You play them, um, warm weather environment. Let's see, rematch with Tampa Bay. Who knows what that game could entail by that time? And then you got the Carolina Panthers, a rematch with them. Jets, I think that's a winnable game. Titans, you may be well, I think it's gonna be, Tyler, maybe it be Tyler Shook versus Cam Ward, or maybe by this time we have Spencer Rattler against Cam Ward. But you facing the team, I think that's a winnable game. We'll see. And then the last game of the season against the Atlanta Falcons. This game is right now is listed as to be determined, TBD, and that's because they feel as though this might be a game where you might be playing for the division title. So we'll see how it all play out. We'll see how it all play out by that time. But um, schedule is tough to a certain extent. The winnable games I see in this slate, I think the Nines are a winnable game. That Cardinal game is going to be tough. Seattle's a win, could be a win. Bears, maybe if you get the Bears right now, early, you play them early in the season, along with New England, before they start to figure things out under new head coach, new offense. That could help. That could play huge. That could be huge for you down the stretch. Um, Rams, I don't think that's a win. You may split with the Falcons or the Buccaneers. Um, it'd be great if you could sweep Carolina. It would be great if you could sweep Carolina. Dolphins, who knows what stats they're gonna be in by November 30th. Maybe Mike McDaniel's fired, maybe he's not, but that team is clearly gonna be blown up if things don't get turned around this upcoming season. I think you can beat the Jets. They got Justin Fields. Like I say, I know the Saints have struggled with mobile QBs, but maybe that changes under you know, Brandon Staley. They play them at home, so we'll see how it all play out. But it's not a tough schedule, in my opinion. It's not a gauntlet, you know. So we'll see how it all play out, man. But what I'm looking for in these games, to be honest, my thing is I want to see how this team is gonna be. It's gonna react. It's gonna respond under Kellen Moore. Are we going to see the same type of bad habits that we saw in the past with the Saints, where it takes them at least 3 4 quarters to get locked in and try to win the game? Are we going to see this team miss tackles once again? You know what I'm saying? Or are we going to see this team not be on between the quarterback and the wide receivers? Are they going to be on the same page? You know what I'm saying? Can they come from behind and win the game if they have to? Can they keep games close? You know, can they go out there and win games that they should win? You know what I'm saying? So it's not the end of the world, man, with the schedule, bro. I do see where the Saints could come out on top and be successful. I really do, but not getting my hopes up too much though. I'm really not. Um, like I said, that Arizona Cardinal game, even though it's early, that's the first game of the season. I think that Cardinals game is a huge test for the Saints because of what they present as a football team against the Saints. Mobile quarterback, tight end, really good tight end, and Trey McBride, really good running game. You still got James Conner, you got Kyler Murray. You know what I'm saying? So you still they present some things that the Saints could struggle with, have struggled with in the past. You know what I'm saying? Um 49ers, we all know about the 49ers, bro. We all know, even though this is not the 49ers we saw in the past. This is not the juggernaut team, the team that's gonna be competing for Super Bowls. This is still the San Francisco 49ers. They still have Kyle Shanahan, you still have Brock Purdy, who looks to be, pretty average when everything is not functioning around him. You still have George Kittle, you got Brandon Ayuk, so they're still a good team. But I still think the Saints are capable of beating this version of the 49ers. Seattle, that's a clearly different type of team now. No longer the Pete Carroll Seahawks that will give the Saints troubles in the past. Got a new quarterback. Geno Smith is out. Now you got um, Sam Darnold, second year, a head coach that's going into his second year. So we'll see how it all play out, man. But um, I do see some wins on there. I do see where they can get a couple wins at. Now to get into the playoffs, they may have to win 3 games on the schedule where they may have to win when they have no business winning those games. In my opinion, you know, um, if anything, I think it would help if they could sweep Carolina. Maybe you split with Atlanta. Maybe you can split with Atlanta and Tampa Bay, but who knows? You know. But schedule, man. I think this is not bad, man. This is not bad. But like I said, we're gonna find out a lot about this team in these first 4 games of the season. You got the first 2 games at home, and you go on the road for the third one. Fourth one, that could be a bloodbath. You know what I mean? But we'll see how it all play out. And also, it was reported that you know, it was I don't want to say reported, but the Saints don't have any prime time games this season. Not really surprised by that because of the way the Saints played last year. Last year, the bottom pretty much fell out for the Saints, and the league has been generous on the Saints having primetime games just based on how they finished just to close out the season in the past. But last year that wasn't the case, and I'm not really surprised by that. That the Saints don't have any primetime games. Not really concerned by that. So it is what it is. But that's all I have for y'all for right now. Give me a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let me know how you feel. How do you feel about the Saints 2025 schedule? Do you think it's difficult? Do you feel as though it's an easy schedule? Do you think it's a schedule where they can actually get into the playoffs? Let me know how you feel in the comment section below. Have a blessed day. Peace. I'm out.